before we dive into your past, can you give me a quick snapshot of what leadership is looking like for you today as the managing director of your company, Assured Travel?
I mean, it's about leading others first and foremost, right? And it's about making tough decisions as well as making, you know, educated guesses, right? In this business, in any business, you just go on what you think is the right thing to do. And sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. But I mean, those two things are kind of the main things from a leadership perspective that I do on a daily basis.
Gotcha. Is there anything that you're seeing in the landscape now that's changing your approach on how you lead, or is it more so you're just feeling it out?
Well, you know, I, I'm a little older, so I'm 53. So um the younger youth that's growing up underneath us has a different aspect on how the world works and how things are and how it's perceived. So me being a leader, I have to be connected to all that, right? I have to understand, like, so you have to lead people differently. Not that that's bad or anything, and I don't want to, upset anybody that's listening to this podcast that's a younger generation, but it's just that the approach is different, and you have to approach people differently, based on what they believe and what they've seen and experienced in this world. I mean, obviously, with the politics of this world and things that's going on in this world, I mean, and information is so readily available, and everything is instant and instant gratification and things like that. So those type of things are rounded into how you deal with others.
No, and that's honestly powerful because I feel like that is something that isn't spoken about as often as it should be is the
Mhm.
generational um I'm trying to think of the word, but you have to be open to the new generation and how they receive information,
Absolutely,
because
100%. I mean, it's just generational differences. That's kind of what it is. And we always talk about diversity, and it is. It's just the diversity of everything, right? Diversity of thought and just diversity of generations. Just it's just different. Like I didn't when I was growing up, I didn't have access to information like some kid, a 12-year-old at their age now. So you have to embrace it, accept it, and deal with it because you can't just stay stagnant.
no, I agree. I mean, they have podcasts like this, right, to get information that,
Right,
you know,
right,
20
right.
years ago wasn't readily available at all. You had to read a book, like a Peter
Yeah.
Drucker book or something to even
Yeah,
understand
or
like what.
microfiche. I'm
Yeah,
gonna take it all the way back. You had to go to the library and look it up on microfiche.
yeah, yeah, and that's look beyond my time. I'll be honest with you. I didn't even know that you got that had to be doing looking at encyclopedias and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But
They
that
actually
was
go
the
around
reality.
selling them. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
for
did
real.
you really?
No, I didn't, but people actually did go
Yeah,
around selling encyclopedias. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. No,
that
that's
was
a
the thing.
different time. That's a different time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but let's jump into it, man. Take us back. You said you grew up
Yeah.
in Flint, Michigan, in
Born and
poverty.
raised. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you mentioned offline that you had a promise to your grandmother, right? What was that promise? And what was that moment like when you made it? What was the feeling that you felt to help you spark, or what sparked something in you?
Yeah. I mean, so growing up in my household, and this is kind of typical to, you know, hood life is that you got a house and no telling who's staying the night there, your uncle, your aunt, your uncle's boyfriend, your cousin, your brother. But through all of this, there was only one stable person in the home at that time, right? My grandma was the only one who really had a job. I don't know what everybody else would do, but they didn't get up at 8 o'clock and wasn't go didn't come back till 5 o'clock. So I don't know what anybody else was doing, but she held the whole home down, whoever was there, right? Food, groceries, whatever. And and I looked at it as like that's a lot to put on a person. And I'm 10 years old, 9, 10 years old. Not that I'm that profound and understanding about life at 10 years old, but I knew that you shouldn't have to take care of everybody. And that's exactly what I perceived that her to doing. Now, the reality of it, I still think she did it, but and I told her we were talking one day. She would take us to out on Saturday mornings for breakfast every Saturday. We would go to this place called Woolworth. We would sit at the counter, eat breakfast. It was like a Walmart with a diner inside, something similar to that. And I just told her, I said, I know you do a lot, but you're never gonna have to worry about taking care of me. And that promise was to her just to say, like, I'm gonna be able to do things for myself. I'm gonna be able to provide for myself. And you don't have to worry about that. And that kind of drove me through life. Now, was it perfect? But as that perfect journey? Absolutely not. But always in the back of my mind, I knew that I made a promise to her and I was gonna keep it.
I love that, and that's such a defining moment, right? You're a young kid, not
Yeah.
really even understanding what you're saying, right?
Yeah, right?
Like,
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
but I believe it to be like the foundation of, the resilience that you do have to kinda get through the day to day. Can you take us back and share, like, how those early struggles in Flint kinda gave you the confidence to tackle the challenges as a leader later on?
I mean, it's more of tenacity than confidence, right? It's to like the never give up, never stop, keep moving, no matter what happens. And in my neighborhood, and I grew up like through the crack era, right? But I saw our neighborhoods before and after the crack epidemic. And it was so many things that I could have done or could have got involved in. So it was so many things pulling you in so many different directions. And my father was there, but he was separated from my mom, so I would see him occasionally. My mom passed when I was 12. Then I moved with my dad, so he kind of took responsibility after that. But it was just the tenacity of moving forward, and you knew, and you see walking through our neighborhoods, you see people just falling off, right? You see people, adapting to the norm. I'm just gonna sit and do nothing, right? I'm gonna let the government take care of it or whatever, right? So I looked at those things as something that I didn't want to do. And I didn't use it as an example of something I wanted to do or something that see that as my future. I saw that as something that'll never be my future. So just that about moving forward and making you just being positive, right? And just trying to move forward and makes a better life for myself. And then at some point, I want to take care of my grandmother, right? Because she took care of us. So that all of those things, just being there, you know, drove me to keep moving forward and trying to make sure I succeed in life and whatever that looked like.
And I think what you touched on is the mindset, right? You had a
Yeah,
specific mindset that you kept through the entire process regardless of it, but it came with making that decision.
uh-huh.
A lot of times people are
Yeah,
really wishy-washy with what they do, but when you make a
yeah,
decision and you stick to it, you can now you can now know and trust your own words,
yeah,
right? Because I
yeah,
think that is why certain people feel doubt in most moments is because they don't really even trust themselves to do
yeah,
the things that
yeah,
they say
yeah,
that they
yeah.
were gonna do. But in your situation, that was very tough. You put
Yeah,
yourself
it's
out there and did it.
yeah. I mean, in the simplest form of it, I just said I have no other choice. None of those other options are a choice for me. So I have to do this, this, and this. I can't do that. That's just not me.
Who so, who do you think instilled that in you? Would you say it would be your grandmother
It
or
was it was my grandmother at a early age, but then when I really start to have a relationship with my father after my mom passed, my dad was a painting contractor in Flint, Michigan for over 35 years. So he worked from sun up to sundown. So he is still that his work ethic instilled in me is like this guy doesn't stop. Like he's moving, right? This guy doesn't stop. So later in life when we had a better relationship, he just stuck in me. He said, he's always said, don't half-ass do anything. If you're gonna do it, do it. Yeah, and you can't give up. Like it's a couple of times I joined the basketball team and I was about to quit. Like, sorry, sir, you can't. Right. So so that helped out definitely later in my life.
No, I love that because it's making a decision, right? Once you
Yeah, it
decide, you're
is.
in it, and I think that's something our audience could take away as well. It's like, if you decide on something, do it all the way through.
Do it. Do it. But and
Don't
you can't be afraid. That's where a lot of leaderships or anybody just they're afraid of what might happen, right? What if it happens, right? you think about, well, but what if it does happen? So those are that's that thought. What if it, not what if it doesn't happen? What if it does happen? You think about the things that you worry about on a daily basis. 95% of the time, that never happens, right? And you worrying about stuff that you can't even control at that point. But it's just about like, don't you focus on something, say this is what I'm going to do and do it. Nah, I'm not saying it's going to work. I've been through 4 or 5 different businesses. I've sold a couple, I've bankrupted a couple, but I just say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I'm gonna put my whole heart and mind into it. And if it doesn't work, then I keep moving. Um, Failure is just a learning, man. Failure is just a learning, and people have to get out of the fact that you're scared to fail, because it's not really a failure. A failure is not trying.
Mm,
That's when you
mm,
fail.
yeah, I I agree with that. Or quitting,
Or
right?
quitting, for sure. Or
I think
quitting.
quitting,
Or
and
quitting.
mind you, sometimes that is the right decision to do if you feel you may not be uh the right fit for what you tried.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that that's okay to say, and I think that takes courage, right? To be like, hey,
Yeah.
this isn't for me, you know?
Let's not be stupid, right?
Yeah,
At some point in time, you look at this situation like, nah, that's in relationships and anything else is like, how many times you gonna keep running to this brick wall, but you have to recognize that that's a brick wall and you
yeah.
can't get through it. But you can't fall back on that because that wall is plastic and you can bust through it. But because it's a little harder, you want to quit. Not that. But this is that brick wall we're not going through. And you got to make that decision based on what, and you inside know if you really quit, or you just say, hey, this just ain't it.
No, it's so true. I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he was asking me for like advice on something, and I told him, I was like, I'm not going to say anything that you already haven't said to yourself because you already know the
Yeah.
right answer to this. And
Correct.
most
Correct.
times, you know the right move. It's just, are you willing to do what's necessary to do it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a hard, it's tough, but
Yeah.
I recently just heard something too where, um, I can't remember who said it, but it's like there are two aspects to a fact. There's two aspects to everything, but there's two aspects to a fact, and that's the positive and the negative. And you choose what aspect of the fact that you focus on. So you live in Flint, Michigan. You could say the positive, well, I can get out of here and do things that are great, or the negative, I'm never going to get out of Flint, Michigan, and this is where I'm at forever. You could have
Yeah.
looked at it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
same
I have, I
situation.
have, I have, I have people that my friends who I grew up with since I was 5 years old, and they decided that other fact, right?
That's real.
So that is a true fact.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I forgot. I have to figure out who. If I figure it out, if I say it on this
Yeah.
call now, I'm gonna say it on this
Yeah.
because God, it was a good one. That's a good one though.
Yeah.
But just to jump back into it, we we know leadership is lonely. It can be lonely,
Can
right?
be. Can be.
It can be very lonely. And there's those moments that doubt does creep in on literally all of us, right?
Hmm.
So I want you to walk me through or just take me to a moment where, you did have this, overwhelming self-doubt potentially. And maybe if you can give our audience something that they can take away from that moment on how you were able to overcome the doubt that you may have been feeling in that
Yeah.
moment.
I mean, one of the things is that I had a, a great job in corporate America, making decent money, right, and working my 9 to 5, and I decided, when I wanted to start this company, I said, I had kids in high school getting ready, well, middle school getting ready to go to high school, getting ready to college, and I decided that I'm just going to leave this good corporate job and start this travel business. And I couldn't tell you how much doubt was in my mind about, you know, why would you do this? Even people that I'm friends with, like, I don't think you should do it, because people put their fears upon you, right? Or their whatever on you to think that you can't do something. That's another thing people gotta. Sometimes you just can't listen to people because they will put their fears and doubts on you and think you are able to do it. But I just said to myself is that, and then I go back to my grandmother thing. I just said, look, this is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it. And you have to believe. If you don't believe in yourself, then no one will. So the first part of leadership or anything in life is believing in you, believing in you, but because of the things that you've accomplished in your life, the things that you've been through, you know you can get through it. So if it had fell on his face and I'd had to go back to corporate America, I would have did that. But you know what, it hurt even worse if I didn't even try. So there was doubt, definitely doubt, but I got over it just knowing that I can do it. And I wasn't thinking about if it failed. I was thinking about if it succeeds.
And again, that's thinking about the positive aspect of the fact, right? I
Yeah,
find that to
yeah.
be,
I mean,
yeah, that might be the
I
overarching.
actually went and seen a therapist once, right? And I tell people all the time, there's nothing like going to talk to someone you don't know that don't know you. I tell people all the time. I mean, and and again, you like your friend said, you know exactly what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed. But talking to someone that has no idea who you are, can judge you, they just said positive thoughts, positive results.
Mm,
Right? You think
yeah,
positive, you have positive results, right? And I stick with that wherever I do, even in the game of golf.
which is a game of a lot of
Life.
you could be very negative in golf. I see.
Yes, you can. But yeah,
I
no,
was just watching that. That's silly.
it's just it's about self, right? And Cat Williams, that comedian. I mean, he's great. It's like, it's called self-esteem. It's esteem of yourself, right?
Mm,
You
yeah.
gotta, yeah, it's you first. It's you first. And I know it's hard. I mean, it's, easier said than done, but you have to keep saying it to yourself, keep doing it, keep believing. And then when you start seeing those results, you understand, like, okay, follow the actions of your success and you will be successful.
Oh,
Right?
you dropping some
That
game.
ain't mine.
That's a
That's
good one.
KRS-One though. I'm
That's
sorry.
a good one.
I won't still
That's a good
that's
one though.
KRS-One. But and that simple thing is like you keep doing the things that's our success, you're gonna keep being successful. Mindset, drive, determination, not quitting, right?
That's so true. I mean, you touched on something that I wanted to circle back on is the self talk. The self talk.
Yeah.
All right. So
Hey.
you're a former athlete. I'm a former athlete. So I know how my self talk is. It's pretty aggressive. you know, I'm,
Yeah.
I'm very much so. I'm very much an aggressive self talker where it's almost like I have a helmet on and like Ray Lewis is in my ear kind of deal.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Your self talk like in these moments because you have to have it. And I want our audience to understand self talk is absolutely vital, right? I'm not saying like
Yeah.
it's the only thing, but self talk, if you're not hyping yourself up, as you said earlier, no one else will. Not as
No
much as
one.
you do
No
yourself.
one.
So give us
No
an
one.
insight on what your self talk looks like.
Yeah. I mean, my self talk is like, you can do this. You're great. You're awesome. Don't worry. Keep moving. Right? Just keep moving. And celebrate your wins. And I tell people all the time, because people have get this thought like, oh, it's just something little, right? But celebrate your wins. But there's kind of offset to that too. You can't get too high and you can't get too low. But you got to stay somewhere in that middle because this too will pass. And there's time you got everything is going right, is going your way, and that too will pass, right? So don't get too high, get too low. Celebrate your wins because you will have losses, but they won't be as bad if you celebrate your wins. Because what happens is when you do lose, you think about them wins. You're like, okay, I lost this game. If I could have shot the ball better, if I'd have made a couple more layups, or if I'd have squared up on my 6 iron, I would have been good, right? But I've done that before, right? I've done it before, so I celebrated what I did. So the losses aren't as bad because you have to understand, like there will be losses, but stay in there. Don't stay in there. And it's okay to get low, but that's some place you can't stay. You can't stay there. no matter what happens in your life. I lost my mother at 12. I lost all my parents, grandparents, father, everybody. And there's times that you can be low. There's times that you can be depressed. There's times that you even may think you're a failure, but you can't stay there. There's no place for you there. Accept it, mourn, cry, scream, but get up, keep moving.
Uh,
Just get up, keep moving.
that's that's so real. I mean, because it's day to day. As I mean, we're off the topic of leadership now, right? I think we're
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
topic of just living a
Yes,
purposeful life
sorry.
at this point.
Sorry
No,
about
no,
that.
no, but no, but I think that's the I think there's a correlation there, right? Because
Yeah, correct.
to lead is almost as it has a lot to do with your character and the things that you say to yourself and who you want to become. And I think that's what you're diving into is you're making decisions and doing what you said that you're going to do. Whatever comes with it, it comes with it.
Yeah,
The
it does.
highs
It
and the
does. It
lows,
does.
it
It does.
comes with it. You know, it comes
Yeah.
with the type of person that you're trying to be. And so, yeah, I have a framework, and it's not my framework. It's a Myron Golden. That's the guy's name.
Okay.
There it
Okay.
is. I was listening
Yeah.
to him. He has this framework called the be do have principle, right? And you have to be your identity, right? So you have to identify with the person that you want to be.
Mhm. Yep.
Then with that, you'll end up doing the things that you now identify with. So if you say that you're a leader, you will start to do actions that correspond with the identity that you've had,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then on the back end of it, if you continuously are consistent, you'll have whatever you truly desire at the back end of it. But
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
focus of the be and the do, and then the have will come, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean, from a leadership perspective, I mean, a leader doesn't say they're a leader. They just lead.
they just do it.
Right.
But
And
internally,
people
they love it.
seemingly just follow, right? And you'll see people like, just gravitate. And it's all, it's about mindset, right? From a leadership perspective, it's just about mindset.
Yeah, and it's how you hold yourself. It's
Yeah, for sure.
it's who you are,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It
And
is it
that's
is who you are for sure,
it,
100%.
it is who, and it's who you become as well. But it's like who you are. Like as you, I mean, you walk with that air of confidence. That exactly what you said. People start to come to you. They gravitate to your words.
Yeah,
They want to know what you think. And I'm,
yeah,
you could have no idea. Like it could be a hairdresser, and they were like, "What do you think about this?" And you're like,
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're
right,
just hands are
right,
up. I
right.
have no idea, but
Give
the
me a
fact that
minute.
seriously, but the fact that they
Yeah,
came to you shows that the qualities that you hold and the character that you have are leadership characteristics and qualities, and it's up to you on whether or not that's something that you want to go down or not, positive or
yeah,
negative aspect of the fact.
yeah,
So I love that. I love that, man.
yeah.
That's really insightful. Um, So you did mention something that I'm gonna mention. You mentioned it when we were talking offline. The your F yesterday
But
approach.
yeah, yeah,
It's bold.
yeah.
It's a bold one. He says like
It
a
is.
reset for your mind. Uh,
Yeah.
just dive in. Tell me about it. Where did it come from? What what exactly does it do for you? Have have you shared it with anybody? Yeah, just tell us about that.
Yeah, I share with everybody, everybody who I talk to. It's just one of the things I live my life based on it. It's because I have done some things in the past that I could blame for my life direction, right? So I've made up some mistakes in my life, and what I've learned is that you not unless there's some new technology that I don't know about, you can't go back in the past, right? So whatever happened in the past is the past. The phrase of don't cry over spilt, you can't cry over spilt milk. It's already spilled. All you need to do now is clean it up. So my F yesterday is the fact that no matter what you've done, no matter what someone else has done to you, F it. Move forward. You can't do anything about it. Well, there not. Let me rephrase that. There is something you can do. You can learn from it, right? Fool me twice, shame on me, right? Learn from it, let it go, and F it. Keep moving. And I live my life by that because some people get stuck into, if I had a done this, if I hadn't have brung this person into my life, if I hadn't have hired this person, or if I hadn't have put this person in a leadership position, any of those types of things, yeah, maybe. But you don't know what would have happened if you didn't make those decisions. Maybe the decision that you thought was a bad decision turned you into the person you are today. So learn from it, move on. F yesterday, all day.
I
That's it.
love that, and since our conversation, I've actually I shared it with my wife as well, so we're both on this, the F yesterday train because
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
had there's moments where and, just living real life, you have that are just that go dark, like, they're
yeah,
dark moments, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
situations where your mind can take you places that you're like, "Man, I didn't even plan to think of this," but if you have the F yesterday mentality,
yeah,
right, you can literally forget that that even happened and
yeah, yeah,
move forward or learn from it, right? Why was I
yeah,
thinking that way yesterday? What
yeah,
happened in that day to make me feel this way or whatever? And I think about this quote, and I think I heard Will Smith say it, and it's like it may not be your fault, but it's damn sure your responsibility to
yeah,
fix it,
yeah.
whatever it is. And
Whatever
I
it
love
is,
that. I love that
right?
because
I mean,
it
people go through life blaming themselves for what happened 20 years ago. What you go, and then I mean, what, right? So yeah, and then just from a leadership perspective on that piece of it, when you make decisions with my company or any company, when you make decisions and they don't work, you can't be, "Oh, now what? What am I do? You know, F yesterday, man. What you gonna do tomorrow?
that's
Yeah.
that's so true. Like, with that though, with you being a leader at your company, and first off, how's the company doing? I just want to just review.
It's doing fine. COVID kind of, that was one of them things, right? One of
Yeah,
those tough decision moments, or one of those, self-doubt moments, and making tough decision moments where, the world was shut down. So that means no one traveled,
yeah.
right?
Tell us about that though. Tell us about that.
I make my money from people traveling.
Yeah,
So it was tough. Go back to Don Bynack and his company. I mean, they were heaven sent because I was able to survive based on a restructuring of my company with their support. So I was able to do that. But did I have to let people go? Yes, I did. I had to lay people off. I brought a couple people back, but because I restructured differently, I didn't need that many people. But it's tough. And as a leader, some leaders don't realize, and I know I've been in corporate America over 30 years, and I've transitioned jobs based on buyouts and downsizing, and I've been through like 4 or 5 of those. So I understand that there's tough. Quick example is that I worked for a company where the CFO brought me in. We worked at a previous company, so we streamlined all the processes there. So the company that we went to had 30, 40 people. So my job was to sit down with these people, learn their job, and then fire them. Right. So you know how tough that is, right? So you building relationships with these people. You're sitting there. You may even go to lunch with them or whatever. All the time is that we're trying to figure out our process so we can stream like we did somewhere else, right? Long story short, guy brought in a book, "Who Moved the Cheese." Don't know if you know that book. Small, good read book. Small, really, really small book, but it's just about change. And gave the book to the people. Had a contest on it. Asked questions. Gave out VCRs or TVs. That's when VCRs was a thing back then. And 2 weeks later, we had to let these people go. And he said, "It's your turn. You got to do it." So I got to sit in front of these people and say, "You have no longer have a job." And then why? Well, this is why, right? So I mean, and then that became numb to me, which another reason I began to start my own company, because I just that whole process was just sucked to me, right? Because it became a norm, or I became, stagnant to it or whatever. It's like, this is not good, right? So, but back to this thing is like, I had to sit down and talk, have conversations with people that's affecting their family, right? And sometimes you forget as a leader, you can't forget. You can't forget, because at some point you were at that level. You just didn't go into the job and became a leader, right? At some point you were down on the ground, troops on the ground, and you went through these processes and you worked hard, and you can't forget. And the whole thing, you can't forget where you come from. And a lot of leaders do, once they get in a position, they forget where they come from, and don't realize that you're actually affecting lives. So it was a tough decision. It had to be made, and I did the best I could for them while I was able to. But yeah, I mean, during that time, it was real crazy because no one knew what was going to happen next, right?
That's that's an intense time, for everybody, but specifically for, you and those that you had to, let go from the business perspective, because that's it's family is involved, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I, I think that kind of goes now into, what I what I believe leadership to be is it's more purpose driven, and it's more of like
Hmm.
a service instead of a
Yeah,
title. And that seems like
yeah,
you agree with me on that. So
yeah.
I would say tell us about a time where, leading through service, because for your team, like overcoming a challenge that you guys had, or uh, maybe you noticed someone that on your team that was like really down on themselves, or they were doubting their own, way. They weren't there all the way. They were doubting themselves. What did you do as a leader, and how did you step in to, I guess, help that person transition away from, that doubt into obviously, now moving with purpose?
Um, so obviously, these people do these jobs every day. And my approach to that level of work is like, when you think you're not doing right, what do you and we have conversation, and I like to hear people talk about what they're feeling, and I try to understand them, not to not, I talk to listen, not to just to hear them and have a rebuttal for it. And whenever I see that, I just take them to the side and say, hey, look, what's going on? And most of the time it's something that's solvable. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just takes a little pep talk. Hey, you could do it. Let's get it. And a couple of things. My leadership style is like, I almost have them lead me. Like, when we develop new processes and we develop new things, I always shift it to them. Hey, this is you do this job every day. What would you do differently if you was me? Right?
Mm,
What do you
mm,
complain about in this job that you would change if you were me? And I go through every employee. We have group sessions and we talk about, and what I and if we have a discussion. Now, there's a lot of things that they don't know about from they're not privy to all this information. So if it's something that we can't do because of this, and I'll explain it. But if it's something we can implement that you created, because now you're making them part of the process. They're just not worker bees. That's how my leadership style is like, what are the problems? You know what the problems are. What would you do if you were me? How would you solve these? And we go that approach. And but as far as like employees self-doubting, you just gotta listen. I think for the most part, you just gotta listen, because that's most of the time what they need, someone to listen to.
yeah. I think your whole process is listening, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
everything that you do to be a better leader is actually just listen
yeah,
to your team
yeah,
so you can figure out how to lead them better.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And
and
everybody's different,
that's
like we talked about earlier. Everybody's
yeah.
different. I had a team. I had one time in corporate, I had a team with 25 women and two guys, and it was just in all of ages. So it was just like, everybody's different. You can't treat everybody. Some people you can just have them run off, and some people need that self gratification. They need, hey, good job. They need a good job they need a pat on the back. Some people like, man, leave me alone. I'm doing my job, right? So it's just about, everybody's not the same, and you can't think you can treat everybody the same, because you can't. As a leader, if you do that, you definitely will fail, because people don't leave jobs because of the job. They leave because they're managers and they're leaders.
let me tell you, that's
Yeah.
that reminds me of my VMI days when I went to VMI. I played basketball there, and I
Mhm.
didn't leave because of the school. I left
Yeah.
because of how the coaches treated me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it,
Um,
the leader
yeah.
of what I thought was our team
Yeah.
was not. Let me just say this. Full disclaimer: great guy outside of basketball.
Okay.
I don't want to mention his name. Great dude,
Yep.
whatever it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
But
Yep.
when we were in the locker room and stuff, the things he would say were not very.
Right.
Let me just put it this way: a 19-year-old would be upset by those things, and that's one of the reasons I left. I felt the leadership coaches weren't there actually leading the team. They
Yeah.
didn't care about what we were doing outside of school, at least seemingly. It
Yeah.
was, "Oh, how are you? What are you doing for me for us to win?"
Yeah.
If it wasn't that, then it was the opposite. So
I mean, that's just like a coaching analogy, like the great Popovich, right? He can coach any style based on his players
yeah,
and their strengths. There's some coaches I only can coach one style,
shut
and
up.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, you're right. But and from a leadership perspective, it's the same thing. Like you have to lead based on who's following you. You can't. That's one person may be different than this new person that came in. So you can't treat them the same way. You can't say like your coach probably was effective for some other team he was with, right? And some other group of players he was with that may have been effective. So he said, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm doing because I think everybody thinks the same and they should follow me. And I think that's just not the right. You got to be able to adjust to who you're coaching or who you're leading.
Yeah. It's an adaptability game, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
leaders are adaptable creatures.
Yeah.
Like
Correct.
they are very adaptable, and you have to be able to maneuver through all types of environments because
Yeah.
you're leading people. At
Yes.
the end of the
Yes.
day, this is a people's game. This isn't like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm leading a big corporation or a business. It's like, no, no, no. You're leading the people that work for this business or corporation, right?
And make it run. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the shift that I think, and I hope our audience could take away from it is this is a people's game. Leadership is a people's game. You
Yes.
are
Yes.
working with people, so understanding what makes people tick, what motivates, what's inspiring, what how a person receives feedback, you know,
Yes.
how
Yes.
to give feedback because a lot of times over an email, it sounds like criticism, right? So uh, if it's an email that doesn't sound like you would like to read it, don't send it. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? So you can now give feedback on how to approach that individual, because that's something that I'm dealing with currently with one of my current leaders where they're not very aware of when they do give feedback, how it's presented to the person
Mhm.
because they have a way of communicating and they believe their way of communicating is how everyone receives it. And it's not the case as we
Yeah.
just talked
I mean,
about. So
just as a and that goes to the point of as a leader. I mean, I can't. If you think you're always right, and if you think you're the smartest person in the room, then you are not a leader,
yeah, no,
right? You
yeah,
can't. You're not always right, right? You are not always right, and you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room,
yeah, no,
right? Right.
yeah,
So those types of things, and I always go back to this, and when people say they're self-made, I don't
yeah,
believe that. I don't believe in self-made, right? Yeah, I drove myself. I pushed myself to do things and make decisions, based on my career and things like that. But I'm not in the position I'm in because of just me.
yeah,
I'm not self-made. I made it because of other people. help me make it. It wasn't
Yeah,
about self, and then people get caught, well, you know, who you didn't, Nino Brown, the world is mine, exactly. She forgot about the brothers, right? Well, don't
yeah,
forget about us, the brothers, right?
yeah,
So, and that aspect of it is the fact that you can't succeed without others. And as a leader, you have to understand it. The people that are helping you succeed are just like you, and you can't treat them any differently just because you may be on a higher level than them. And again, some people aren't leaders that are put in leadership positions, and unfortunately, it doesn't work, and people leave, and that's what happens is that they think, I do as I say, do not as I do, or any of that stuff. Like, I don't really care what you have to say, but no, I take everybody that I lead. I want to hear from you. I want to know what your ideas are. I want to know how you think this company could move forward, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Be engaged, because then you will eternally have better employees. It's just because they feel part of the process, and they feel appreciated because you've asked them for what their opinion is, and you've acted on their opinion, right?
yeah,
So, I told Mike about this the other day, and this is exactly what he did to make the change. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Or this is why he said he could. But you have to have those conversations. You just can't be leading, just walking around. Hey, I just, I just don't think that's a great leadership style, and I don't think it works.
yeah. My opinion is why I agree because it's a the again, it goes back to active listening, right? Because you have to listen to the people, and even if you are a leader, the best leaders sit amongst everybody, right?
Correct.
The best
Correct.
leaders sit amongst their people,
Hmm.
and I'll go to an example that, and I like Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis is one of my favorite football
Yeah.
players all time, right? And I listen to his speeches literally in the gym just to get me wired. But that's besides the point. When he's talking to his team, he never says I, always says we.
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't think I've ever heard the man say I in any of his speeches. And to me, that's one of the biggest deciding factors as to why he was such a great leader. Because he never, like you said, saw himself as someone above. He saw
Mhm.
himself as someone with. And I thought that
Yes.
was huge. And it goes to, your character as a person, but it's a people's game. To be a leader, it's a being amongst the people. And that's one of the takeaways I'm getting from this. So if we're
Yeah. No
listening,
doubt.
huge,
Yeah.
huge takeaway there.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be engaged in the people. You just can't sit on the mountaintop, right? And just then look down. You have to go and walk the streets with the people. That's the only way your company will succeed. That's the only way you will succeed, in my opinion.
I don't disagree.
You know,
I agree entirely with that. But last thing, Mike, thanks again. I have one more question for you. We're going to close it here. If you had one piece of advice that you could give to your younger self before you started on your leadership journey, what would it?
F yesterday. No, it's literally. I mean, growing. Obviously, with it, with age come experience. So there's a lot of things that I would tell myself is like, keep moving, no self doubt. You can do anything you put your mind to. Just keep moving. Positive thoughts, positive results. I mean, that's what I would tell myself every day. If I would tell my younger self, you can do it.
Love that. I'm taking that, by the way. Positive thoughts, positive results. You're the first
Yeah.
person I've ever heard say that, and I love that because that is, if we're getting into manifesting and stuff, right? Like that,
Yes. Yeah.
that's a
Absolutely. Yeah.
level of manifestation right there, where your thoughts, like our thoughts, have created everything that we know to
Yeah.
exist. So if
Yeah.
you have these positive thoughts, you will get the positive results, and as you do feel the self doubt, you know, maybe take that quote and just read it to yourself over and over again and
Yeah,
plant it
yeah,
into your
yeah,
mind and plant it into your brain. So anytime that you
yeah,
do have those moments, you can say positive thoughts, positive results, like and just repeat it to yourself. And
yeah, yeah,
it sounds silly, but and some people poo poo on affirmation and things like that. But
yeah.
for
And
me,
prayer, and if you got a little prayer, throw some prayer in there too.
and prayer in there
Yeah,
as well, right? But it
yeah,
people say don't, and I think Alex Hormozy says like it's something that you don't shout affirmations at yourself. It's like, no, but if your mindset is awful, you need to be shouting affirmations at yourself every day
yeah. Correct,
because
correct.
you have to shift your mindset first. Not everyone is wired in that way. And in order to change the reprogram yourself from however many years that you've been programmed to this point and to move forward, it takes work. And the
Does it
first
does?
and the first bit of work you should focus on is your mind. Your
Yeah,
mind
yeah.
is the starting point to it all. If you don't focus on what you're saying to yourself and the actions that you're putting in, you won't ever really achieve what you're trying to achieve, and nor will you be an exceptional leader. Yeah, there are people that are leaders that call themselves leaders, sure. But if you want to be an exceptional leader, I guarantee the exceptional ones, the ones at the top, are saying these little things to themselves. Positive thoughts, positive results. I can do it. I can do anything. People people listen because of the things that I said. Like whatever it is, however you want to go, it's the what you're saying to yourself matters. It
Yeah.
absolutely matters.
Yep.
And look,
And I just leave you with the fact that, you have to embrace who you are. I know in this society, within Instagram society is that, everybody's happy all the time. And you want to measure yourself up based on that, success, you have to define what success looks like for you
yeah,
and your company and your leadership style. What is that? And stay in your lane. Like all the things that sometimes you try to go on somebody else's lane and do what they're doing, and it doesn't work because that's not your lane. Embrace who you are, stay true to who you are, and you'll be fine.
yeah. And realize it's the long game. There's no real
Yeah, it's the
destination.
long game. It is definitely a long game.
Yeah,
It's the long game.
it's, it's a long game until it's over.
Yeah,
No, for
but then
sure.
it's over. It's over. Then that's it. But
You won't even
at
know.
that
You won't
point,
even
you
know it's
just
over.
yeah, at that point, you just got to think about what have you done. Let your work speak for you.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But Mike, appreciate you coming on the platform. Is there anything that you have going on that you want to talk about? Any social links that you want to uh, give
Oh
out to the
no, not at
audience?
this time. But thanks for having me, man. I really
No,
appreciate the
absolutely.
opportunity to talk to your people. And again, you have my number. Reach out anytime. Any questions, additional information that you need, I'll be available for sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Mike. To everyone out there, please hit the like button that helps us and the subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.